It's time to talk about Gemini. In Gemini you have mutable air. Mutable is essentially changeable. And air is sort of the grouping of signs that's more cerebral. That's the cerebral element, intellectual, sociable. Essentially Gemini is all about communication. They like to take in information and they like to communicate that information out. It's not all about just having the information to have it. It's not about, being smarter. It's about showing everybody else how smart they are. I don't mean that like they're a know-it-all or anything like that. What I mean is that they have this need for human connection, not so much on an emotional level. If you're like dating a Gemini or anyone with prominent Gemini, they're going to want to talk to you a lot. And that's why I love talking to somebody with like a Gemini planets, because they know how to keep a conversation going. They're not just going to let it stall and fade away into nothingness. They are going to keep asking questions. They're going to make sure they talk to you every day. It's not one of these things where, oh, I like you, but let's just let it stagnate for a while. That's not going to happen with Gemini. They're going to make sure that they're talking to the person they like or the people they like. They like to stay in touch with their friends, and I love that about Gemini. They're represented by the twins, and this makes a lot of sense, seeing, as I just said, they like to talk. So when I think of Gemini, I think of these two twins, chattering with each other constantly. The reason that Gemini is represented by the twins is because they tend to have two very different and very distinct parts of their personality, which can be sort of unpleasant for people in their lives. They can be really sweet, just pleasant, emotional, caring one minute, and the next minute they are just cold and unfeeling, it seems like. They can shut it off and become this other person. Gemini can be very flirtatious. They can also be very much of a sweet talker. They just know exactly what to say to win you over, if that's how you want to put it. It's part of the whole intellectual thing. They can be really witty. It's not like you're going to walk down the street and get hit on by a Gemini and walk away thinking, ew, what a pervert, They're probably going to say something that really catches your attention, something that gets in your head a little bit, something that stands out. They're very communicative. They don't mind giving compliments. Venus and Gemini especially. If you think about the 5 love languages, Gemini's love language would most likely be words of affirmation. So they're going to want that from you, and they're going to give it out to you. They're going to tell you how beautiful you look today, and you're the smartest person they've ever met. They are an air sign. Air is about, connections with other people. Like Libra is an air sign, it's more one-on-one. Gemini is a little more about, the connections that you have with a ton of different people. The connections that you make when you go to the grocery store and talk to the cashier, and you go back and you see them again, and they remember you, and it's this really pleasant little interaction that you have. Gemini can be rather fidgety. They have a lot of energy, so they're always trying to somehow expel that energy, and it can come out as being kind of fidgety and restless. Very restless sign. They get bored really easily, and they don't like to sit in one place too long. One of the negative qualities of Gemini can be an urge to cheat. Like I said, they get bored, and that can, it spills over in every part of their life. Get with somebody and they're wonderful and amazing and really interesting at first, and then they want to move on to the next thing because they've gotten bored. They've already gotten to know this person, and, well, I'm bored. What else can I find? What else can I do? I've got to stimulate my mind. I haven't seen this in practice too much. It's something a lot of people complain about Gemini. Maybe it's because I haven't really been with somebody with a prominent Gemini placements. I know a couple who has prominent Gemini, both of them. One has just the Venus in Gemini, one has Moon and Venus in Gemini, and they are ridiculously committed to each other. Of course, they keep their relationship active, they go places together, they do things together. Life's sort of an adventure for the both of them. And that's what Gemini is going to need. They're going to need somebody who stays active with them. And that's not saying if you're dating a Gemini and they cheat on you, it's your fault because you didn't keep things interesting for them. No. Cheater is a cheater. And no placement or anything in your chart is an excuse to do something that you know is wrong. But there is this natural tendency with Gemini to be rather easily bored. So If you're with a Gemini, just out of love for them, make sure that you keep things active and you keep things interesting. They're going to need to expel that energy, they're going to want to learn about the world around them, and they're going to want to talk to you a lot. So make sure you have something to say. On the negative side of communicative, you also get overly talkative. Sorry about my hair. It depends on what Gemini you're talking to. However, you get Geminis who are just very intellectual and they like to communicate, they like to talk to you. It's not too much, you know, they just communicate information to you and it's enjoyable to hear. They keep it interesting. But then you get some Geminis who are sort of lower functioning Geminis, just as with their opposite sign. Sagittarius is very honest, brutally honest sometimes. They both share this particular problem. They have foot and mouth syndrome. With Sagittarius, it's more about just speaking what is true to them, even if it's going to offend somebody. It's like brutal honesty. With Gemini, it's more like, I'm just talking and talking and talking and talking and talking, and something terrible comes out of nowhere. How about that, you know? Another quality of Gemini can be rebellious. They don't like to adhere to society's rules. They want to make their own way. They want to make their own rules. One trait of Gemini is that they can be very coy. If you want to call someone in zodiac a tease, Gemini is a tease. All of the mutable signs, I think, kind of classic tease, but Gemini is very much a tease because they can be really flirtatious and not mean anything by it. They might not even know they're flirting with you. And then when you come on to them, they might just kind of brush it off and, you know, oh, stop it, you. Because of the dual personalities I mentioned earlier, they can be rather indecisive, you know. You have two personalities that each want different things all the time. They're in constant communion with each other, but they, you know, butt heads. You've got one that wants to do one thing and the other that wants to do another thing, so they can be kind of indecisive. They can also be kind of scatterbrained. Like I said, they're really energetic and just kind of want to do everything. Be kind of a diffused energy that's at play there. That was a brief synopsis of Gemini. Please subscribe to my channel and I will have Cancer out for you soon.